What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Chase, aka CR Media, as y'all may know me, and we are here for another edition of Sports Empire Network's Line in the Sand podcast, where we take care of all your professional wrestling news, stories going on, results, all that good stuff. And as usual, I am joined by my friend Cool McCain and Brett Gardy 3. Brett, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's great to be on tonight. How are y'all doing today?
Good, good. Cool yourself? You got that you got the mute button hit. Cool.
There we go.
Yeah.
Just another day to talk about some professional wrestling.
Yes, there you go. Guys, if you're watching us on the Sports Empire Network, number one, want to greatly appreciate, say thank you and talk to you about how much we appreciate you guys coming on here. As a way to say thank you for following Sports Empire Network on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you follow Sports Empire Network, as a way to say thank you, we've got a special offer for you. Go to sports or SeatGeek.com and put in the code SEN for Sports Empire Network and get your $20 off your first purchase. Like I said, that's our way of saying thank you for supporting the Empire. Got some comments in here already. Leanne Beeks, appreciate you hitting those flame emojis. Sabino Torres says Bloodline Civil War tomorrow. Let's go. LA Knight, Money in the Bank pop is going to be crazy. Saijin, as always, shows a lot of love to us. He says, sup, guys. Key Williams, who's not with us tonight, she says, my guys. Appreciate everybody in the comments. Since Sabino brought it up, man, let's talk about it. The Bloodline Civil War set for this weekend in London, England at Money in the Bank. Brett, it's been a couple weeks since you've been on, my friend. So let's start off with you, man. Talk to us about this Bloodline Civil War.
Dude, I really love this Bloodline Civil War. The way they've executed this entire thing since WrestleMania has been absolutely fantastic. The Jimmy and Jay turns were absolutely phenomenal. I'm absolutely looking forward to the match in Money in the Bank because it's going to be an absolute banger. And then I'm really curious to see how much longer Solo sticks around with Roman and see eventually when he turns on him. Overall, I just think it's just been a phenomenal build. And now, like, looking back at it, Roman keeping the title at Mania, it's starting to look like maybe it was a good decision.
They've definitely presented different layers to this story. Cool. You want to add anything to that?
I said before WrestleMania, it should have been for one belt. You ended up taking the belt off of him anyway. He could have took the loss, giving Cody the major pop when Cody was at his hottest. WWE will regret not capitalizing on Cody when he was at his hottest. But it is what it is.
Agreed. We're going to talk a lot about Money in the Bank. We're going to kind of go down through that. Sabino says Jay Uso will end Roman. I don't think it'll be Jay that does, but I think Jay will soften him up for somebody else to do it. Trey Hyde says possibly. Key Williams, I definitely wouldn't mind Jay beating Roman. Absolutely. Solo will turn. Let's kind of change gears a little bit. There was a big pay-per-view this weekend. We saw New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Elite Wrestling get together for their second annual Forbidden Door pay-per-view. Brett, cool. Were either one of you able to catch that show?
I was.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about it, man. They've already called one of those matches on that card, the match of the year, best match of the year candidate already between Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay.
Yeah, that match was an absolute roller coaster. Like, I got to admit, they got me with about like 5 near falls at the end, especially after that one winged angel that Will Ospreay hit. I thought that match was over, and then he kicked out at 1 and fired up. And then like right before that, when he hit the Stormbreaker, I thought it was over. Like, overall, man, they really had me in the palm of their hand. Like, with all the near falls, the drama. They brought in some callbacks like the screwdriver spot and some spots from their match back in New Japan from January at Wrestle Kingdom. So I agree. I think that's the best match that I've seen this year, and I definitely think as of right now, if you were to ask me what the match of the year is, it was definitely Ospreay Omega from Forbidden Door.
Cool.
I like that match. Right, like you don't really have to argue. That was clearly one of the better matches that you've ever seen, right? Not just this year, but just in general. I also liked Brian Danielson's match. I love the American Dragon entrance with the music and everything, and I thought he had a really solid match. We have to realize we can't have the American Dragon that we once had because injuries, father time. But I thought he also had a really good match at the pay per view as well. But I mean, that Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega match. I mean, we've got to have a part 3. We've got to have a part 3.
Yeah, I think part 3 will happen. I think what they're going to do is they're going to save it for the end of the year, or possibly even Wrestle Kingdom again. I absolutely love the show. I dug it. For your casual wrestling fan, there wasn't a lot of, I know there was a lot of complaints. There wasn't a lot of buildup into that to your casual wrestling fans. And, that's understandable. I get it. If you're not hooked on watching New Japan, or, if you don't catch those shows here or there, you're not real familiar with what's going on. Brett, I don't know your extent of wrestling fandom. Do you follow New Japan, or?
I do my best to. I used to have the New Japan streaming service so I could watch their matches. I do my best to try to follow all the different companies.
Yeah, so what's kind of your guys' take on that? With your casual wrestling fans complaining that there wasn't enough buildup for some of these matches. I mean, last week when we did this show, there was 4 matches announced. And then we got a 4-hour show on Saturday with, I think it wound up being 10 or 12 matches. So kind of give me your feedback. Cool. I'll start with you, man. What do you think about, do you think that's the right approach? Does AEW know what they're doing? Do they know their audience that they're appealing to? Or do they need to take a step back with Forbidden Door and maybe try and appeal to casual wrestling fans that don't follow New Japan as much?
So there was no issue with the actual show. A lot of great matches, but the buildup was not what it should be when you have a fan base that may not be familiar with New Japan. You have to highlight those characters. Vignette packages would have done that. A couple of face-to-faces. There's a lot of different ways you could have done it creatively without actually having them there. But that's definitely a complaint that a casual fan should have, right? Because a lot of those guys you didn't know. And that is a concern, because if you're going to do these cross-promotional shows, then it should be helping people discover New Japan as well. But if there's no buildup, then there's no reason for you to care whether that person wins or loses in that specific match. So that is something that they're going to have to figure out, moving forward with the crossover between the two, is just the guys that you bring, how you make them a star, or how you make them appeal to the casual fan. And it can be done. They just didn't take the time to do it before Forbidden Door. So I think that is a reasonable takeaway, especially for a more casual fan.
I definitely agree with that, because there are some matches, like, for example, let's take the one that got pulled, for example, Adam Cole versus Tom Lawler. The casual fan's not going to know who Tom Lawler is, and then he just randomly shows up and attacks Adam Cole like the night before. Like, if I'm a casual fan, how am I supposed to get excited for that? I'm just like, okay, I know who Adam Cole is, but who's this other guy? And, like, Like I know who like NATO is, for example, but now a lot of casual fans might not. So all of a sudden, you're just dropping him in on Collision the night before. So I do agree that I think they got to start building up Forbidden Door like sooner with vignettes, kind of introducing these Japanese wrestlers to the public, to the casual fans, and then feature them at some point on TV and just kind of slowly build them up a little better.
Yeah, I would agree, Brett. Actually, with both of you guys, I feel like for them to capitalize on the idea, like it's a great idea and it's a huge idea. For two promotions, two big time promotions to come together and to run an event where they're crossing over, that's huge. And the other thing is we're not on a streaming service. This is not Peacock, this is not Max, this is not anything like this. This is a pay-per-view. We're trying to sell where if you've got people that can pay $9.99 a month for New Japan World and watch New Japan stuff, and then you have people that can watch Peacock, and then you present them with an idea of, hey, here's Forbidden Door. You've got to do something to say, hey, here's the reason why you should pay $50 to watch this. And bringing in a bunch of guys with some names that, casual fans have no idea how to pronounce, no idea who these people are. They're going to look at it and go, yeah, I'm not going to watch that. Well, what about Will Ospreaya, and Noto Ueaki, fighting against my favorite wrestlers in AEW, am I excited about? Nothing, So I feel like they shot themselves in the foot both 2 years in a row. Last year, they even made it a point to say, hey, duly noted, we heard the criticisms about it. We will work on that in the future. And then they do it again this year, and it's like, I mean, it'll sell tickets. I mean, Toronto was packed. It was a hot arena. It was a great event, but imagine how big that event could be if they took the time to build it up. So I would agree with both of your sentiments, gentlemen. Key brought up a good point. Punk got booed. No shocker there. I think that, Cool touched on it last week. As Punk kind of goes outside of the areas of Chicago, you will see some mixed reactions. I don't think he's going to get booed every time he goes into a place outside of Chicago, but I still think there's going to be some places that he will. And that's just the nature of the business. I think if I'm AEW, I think that's what you want. You want him to get that mixed reaction. So
Absolutely. And even like in Canada during his match, he was showing like heel tendencies and how phenomenal he is at it. Like the entire match, just like when he had him in the corner, is just yelling lariat the entire time. That was absolutely hilarious. Like CM Punk, the heel, is what I definitely want. And if I would thought what I'm thinking they might do is maybe try to do a recreation of like Bret Hart from 1997, where he's a heel everywhere except Canada. I'm thinking they might try to do that. CM Punk's just a heel everywhere except Chicago, because I don't think you can do anything to get CM Punk booed in Chicago, so it would be pointless to try to get him to be a bad guy there. But no, I do love the mixed reactions, and I'm really hoping that this just leads to a full-blown CM Punk heel turn.
Let's just be real here, guys. CM Punk as a face has always sucked. Okay? He's the best as either a tweener or a bad guy. CM Punk as a face is not a very good character. He's a loudmouth. He's obnoxious. He's all the things that a heel is. So if you're going to have him, you have to at least have him be a tweener. You can't have him really be a face because he doesn't have what it takes to be a face.
Yeah, I agree with Cool a little bit on that. I think the tweener, the reluctant hero, and I think that's what Brett, you kind of mentioned what were they looking for in doing so. I think that's what we're gonna see is when you want to make him the reluctant hero, because when the lights dim and the elite enter the ring and then it's time for CM Punk and FTR to enter in, you don't want CM Punk and FTR to get booed. I mean, you don't want FTR to get booed. So you have to find a way to make him the reluctant hero to where people will go, okay, I'm going to cheer for him in FTR.
Do you guys think that match will actually ever end up happening, the Elite versus CMFTR? Or
Absolutely.
It's too much money in it for it not to happen. Let's be real.
Exactly.
We can talk about
that's
guys having bad feelings and feeling some sort of way, and we're talking about the Elite, of course, here. But you're going to make this money for the company, and that's period what it is.
Yep.
Sorry,
and exactly what Cool said. That one magic word, money. Where there's money to be made, those guys. We talked about it last week. Somebody made a comment about them not wanting to work together, them wanting to stay away from each other, etc. Remember, Brett and Sean hated each other's guts, but when they got in the ring and the bell rung, it was magic.
Yeah.
They made money and they made magic. So kind of want to catch up on a couple of comments here. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights says, yo. Gene says AEW is the minor leagues. Freddie Henderson with the fire emojis. Gene, I'm going to get to your other comment here in a little bit. AEW is coming up big time, but it will never be the WWE. WWE has 50 years on them. So, there's a little bit different. People have to understand that the wrestling business is about, WWE has made the wrestling business about big time, about money and whatnot. Wrestling to me has always been like a buffet. It's not like football. Like you watch football, you pick your team, you watch that one team, and that team may change playbooks. It may change whatever, but you like that team, and that's cool. But wrestling to me has always been like a buffet. There's different styles. There's different, whatever. It's like mixed martial arts. You can watch mixed martial arts and you can watch a fighter who's good at boxing and martial arts at the same time. Watch another fighter who's strictly just good at kickboxing, not really good at that other stuff. Watch a submission person. That's wrestling. So AEW built an alternative to what WWE is. It will never be WWE. It will never compete with WWE on those things. But it's an alternative to what people say, okay, maybe I'm not feeling, what's on WWE. I only watch WWE for one thing only, and that's the Bloodline story. So I'm going to go watch AEW to watch something else. So King Douglas in the chat. Appreciate you joining us, sir.
And I was gonna add to that. I was like, I don't want AEW to try to be WWE. If I wanted to watch WWE, I'll go watch WWE.
Yeah.
So the fact that they made this alternative, I'm happy about that because I don't want all my professional wrestling to be the same. So
exactly,
the more diversity we get, the better we're all off for it.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, to me, WWE is sports entertainment. If that's what you like, that's cool. AEW is professional wrestling. If that's what you like, cool. Whichever, if you like both, cool. Right? I mean, I wouldn't say AEW is the minor leagues, but it's like the Cleveland Browns of professional wrestling right now, right? It's kind of there, but it's never going to compete with like the big dogs at this point. And the big dog, of course, is WWE. But when you look at anything outside of WWE, it's the best alternative.
Yeah. So let's break this down real quick because then we'll get to WWE and Money in the Bank, and I'll go back and highlight Gene's comment about one of the matches going to be there. So so starting off the night, we got the Mogul Embassy versus Chaos. So Swerve Strickland, Khan, Leona, and Brian Cage took on Beretta, Taylor, Rocky Romero, and Desperado in a big 8-man tag match. The Mogul Embassy won. You guys want to add anything on to that before we move on?
Whose house?
Swerve's house.
That's all I got to say, sir.
I got nothing for that one.
The next match, the women's Owen Hart Cup tournament, with Billy Starks and Athena. Athena came away with the win. Anything to add to that, gentlemen?
I think it was the right decision. It was a better match than I thought because I didn't really know who Billy Starks was too much. Heard the name, but didn't really know her. But a better match than I anticipated. But Athena was the right person to go over.
Absolutely. Athena is probably a real possibility to win this whole thing. And honestly, if she does, that would be great. I'd be happy for her. She absolutely deserves the push. So it was 100% the right move.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with Athena winning. It's obviously a good thing for her to do, and just another notch under her belt. But as somebody who's watched Billy since she was 14, 15 years old, man, it's hard for me not to root for her. But her time's coming. Remember that name, man, because she's going to be a megastar.
And the thing is, this is great exposure for her because,
oh yeah,
it wasn't like one of those matches where it was a squash, right? It was an actual match. Then he had to go out and get a win. So that makes people say, well, who is this chick that she fought?
Yep.
Right. So then when she's featured on programming again, whether that's Rampage, whether that's Collision, whether it's Dynamite, people are going to say, oh, I remember her from that match with Athena, or even if she's on the Ring of Honor show. So, that'll give her something for people to say, oh, I remember her.
Yeah, absolutely. The next match, we had Stu Grayson versus El Phantasmo. El Phantasmo won. Not a huge shock there. Wasn't a very long match. I felt like this was one of those matches that they kind of, thrust it in there and tried to build as much as they could. Another match that could have possibly benefited from a build-up.
My only question is there still a Dark Order? Or is there not? Like, what's happening?
I don't think there is. Is there? I'm just kidding. Yes, there is. It's supposed to be on. It's supposed to be on ROH most of the time.
Yeah. No comment. Whole different topic. No comment.
United Empire versus the Ibushi, Hiromi Takahashi, and Shingo Takagi. Of course, Bushi and Takahashi won this. Thought it was I thought ELP's jacket was awesome. It was reminiscent of Jericho's old one that lit up. Phantasmo's haircut was a little weird, but the suicide dive was fantastic, and so was the 450 from Grayson. So
agreed.
Fair.
Then we started off the actual show. Those were all pre-show matches.
Mm-hmm.
The actual show was started off with MJF and Hiroshi Tanahashi.
I just have to say, if you are interested in being a wrestler, right, and you want someone to model yourself after as far as just being a heel, like just being a guy that does not want you to like them, even if you cheer for them, that's MJF. MJF should never, ever, and I mean ever, be a good guy. MJF is scum. He's the devil. He's slime. He's everything evil, and I love it.
Agreed.
So I had to say that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I thought this was a fun match to start. The second year in a row that Tanahashi's gotten an AEW World Title match. But overall, yeah, I love MJF's heel antics. Tanahashi, he seems to be slowing down a bit. I know he's older, but it was still a fun match to watch. I definitely enjoyed this one, and I love the whole MJF demanding it goes first so he can leave right away. I thought that was a great little bit of heel work right before the show. in the build-up. So overall, it was a fun one.
And what about his robe? That was great, man. That was great.
I dig it. Yeah, I mean, it was a decent match. I mean, it's not going to be anybody's match of the night, but it got it got the point across that MJF is a coward. Like the fans chanted, he's the heel. So definitely didn't hate this match. The next one was CM Punk versus Satoshi Kojima in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament with the men's tournament. CM Punk got the win.
CM Punk was not going to come back to lose that match, period.
Of course.
I'll say, to me, CM Punk probably wins the whole Owen Hart tournament. I mean, in all honesty, he's the biggest star, and I could just see them giving him the wins on this one. But yeah, like I said, I just overall loved Punk's body of work in this match. Is him sitting there playing to the Canadian crowd that didn't like him, playing the role of a bad guy, and then right at the end showing respect like he did. Overall, I thought it was just a fantastic bit of storytelling, and I thought it was another just good match. Definitely wasn't match of the night, but overall, I thought it was a fun sprint and a nice work of storytelling throughout the entire thing.
Yeah. No matter what you think about CM Punk personally, what he does in the ring, of course, is not going to be anywhere near as good as it was 20 years ago because, like Cool mentioned with, some of those guys, Father Time catches up to everybody. But his storytelling in the ring is still immensely, great. He does a fantastic job of, being able to tell a story inside the ropes that a lot of guys, the younger guys who have established themselves in this business still don't know how to do. I agree, Brett. The match told a great story. This one was a lot of fun, man. This fatal 4-way match for the AEW International Championship. We had Daniel Garcia, Orange Cassidy, Shibata, and Zack Sabre Jr. in this match.
I love Zack Sabre Jr. I think he's the complete wrestler. I love that he's in New Japan because I think he's sharpened his skills there. And he's a guy that could leave there and come to another promotion and be a high mid-level guy from the first day he's there. He understands his character. He understands his moveset. He's great at it. He's very fluid. He does everything that you ask in the ring. He does need to improve on the mic a little bit. But I think stepping up to a different area, being asked to do a little bit more, I think he could handle it. Daniel Garcia is insane. This dude has turned into like a dancing fool. He's like the new Disco Inferno at times. And it's something to set his character apart from just, I'm a tough guy, so I'm a part of Jericho Appreciation Society. So it gives him something to help him be an individual person and to stand out for you to see. And of course, Orange Cassidy is going to find a way to win the match. Orange Cassidy is like the Lazarus of AEW right now. Like, you can just destroy him, he'll just come back and win.
Honestly, when it comes to wrestling inside the ropes there, I think Orange Cassidy might be just one of the more underrated wrestlers. When you talk about some of the better wrestlers inside the ring, I don't hear a lot of people mention Orange, but anytime you put him up pretty much up against anybody, he always throws out a banger. He did it last year at Forbidden Door. He's done it pretty much every single title defense he's had. They've all been really good matches, and then he has another phenomenal match Sunday. Like, I don't think Orange gets talked about enough when we're talking about some of the best wrestlers in the world, and I think he's really underrated in that regard almost. So I thought this was a fun match, and it was just nonstop action the entire time.
The next match we had was kind of funny to me because it had a few people up in arms the week prior. Jungle Boy Jack Perry against Sonata for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship.
The match itself Yeah, it's okay match, right? It's Jungle Boy tried his best, wasn't good enough, blah blah blah. Same old story with Jungle Boy. Pick yourself up, dust your bootstraps off. Your buddy comes down. It's okay, buddy. Oh, wait a minute, you have a belt. Boom! I want your belt.
Yeah,
That was the best part of it.
yeah, I agree. I think that Jack Perry's his character just kind of needed an overhaul. It just needed a change, and the heel turn after the match, turning on Hook, I think they pulled the trigger on that perfectly. It was the right time to do it, and I'm really excited to see what they do with him going forward. Honestly, so like that overall match was okay, but the heel turn at the end perfect, and I'm really excited to see what they have in store for him moving forward.
Not to
Yeah,
say these spoilers real quick, Chase, but I just want to pull something else into this real quick. So if you went and saw the Transformers movie, this was the equivalent of seeing the Transformers movie in an AEW match. I won't give any spoilers, but this was the equivalent of doing that.
yeah, it was crazy because cool. I think it was you and I who debated last week or a couple weeks ago when you were like that they should turn Jungle Boy heel, and I was like, no, they should turn Hook heel. And I don't know, man. When I saw Jungle Boy do it, I was like, I kind of like it. So I can dig it. It's very interesting to see where it goes from there. Hopefully both of those guys get utilized and get used properly. So Gears of Kai, appreciate you joining, man. It is going good.
Absolutely.
Give me 1 second here. The next match, the 10-man tag, the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club, plus Shota Umio and Takashita, and then Eddie Kingston and Ishii on with the Elite. Team Elite won this. Thought it was a very good back and forth match. Obviously, I think it's leading into at some point blood and guts with the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club.
I'm a big Blackpool Combat Club fan. I don't mind them losing because they had the added people there, so it wasn't truly, group versus group. It's Blackpool Combat Club wrestles one way. They beat your A. Whenever you step in the ring with them, they beat your A. They strike, they attack. They're very heavy-handed. They have a certain style, and you have to be able to fight that style to have good matches with them. I thought the Elite did a good job of that, and at some point the Elite had to win something, right? You can't call it a rivalry if one side always wins. So this is definitely the ending that made sense.
What I loved about that match too is the action was nonstop. I always loved the Young Buck hot tags and overall, but also the little story they told with Eddie Kingston still trying to be John Moxley's friend and protect him, like how he just hopped
Hmm.
in the way and took that double super kick for him, almost cost him the match.
Yeah,
Overall, like I love the fact that they kind of added that in there, and I just love the overall blend of action and how they also told some additional side stories as well. So I really thought this was a super fun match. It's a fun match to me. It was one of my favorite matches of the night for sure.
Definitely. The next match is Tony Storm and Willow Nightingale. Obviously, Tony Storm, came away with the win. Not the ending I wanted, but they're pushing Willow Nightingale more and more out there, which I love to see.
yeah, because remember she has that New Japan Strong title, Women's
Yes.
Strong title, so they're definitely giving her more of a spotlight. Because I think it's like we gave your wrestler our belt. We need to see her being a big deal on your side because your wrestler has our belt. And I mean, Tony Storm is going to win by nefarious means. That's pretty much what the Outcasts do. By the way, big fan of the Outcasts as well. As you can tell, I'm fond of the heels more than the faces. Um, but I thought it was a great way to do things. Willow needs to look strong, but you're not going to beat Tony Storm a few months into her title reign. It's just not going to happen because she already had that kind of short reign where she was the interim champion and then it turned into we're going to recognize this as an actual reign after she loses the belt and all that. So you got to kind of give her a long, solid reign with the belt this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought this was the perfect matchup if you're going to have Willow lose because you can have the Outcast interfere and still make her look strong. It was a fun match and it was the right ending. And I know interferences aren't everybody's cup of tea, but in this situation, it was the perfect ending and the one that needed to happen. So overall, I thought it was a fun match, and then in all the interferences and everything, perfect way to protect Willow, keep her strong.
Yeah.
I would agree. The next
agrees.
the next match, the co-main event. We've got, we kind of touched base on it already. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay won the title back. Obviously, there was a lot of outside stuff, so to speak. Don Callis, and
Screwdriver.
Yep, Screwdriver. I know we kind of already talked about it. Is there anybody else that wants to get more of this off their chest, or are you guys okay with moving on?
I think there's only the one part that for some reason bothered me a little bit. I don't like a little how Don Callis got ejected and then all of a sudden just nonchalantly walked out ringside and the ref just kind of looked at him and went, all right. Because now it's all right, so if anybody gets ejected, can they just come back out 5 minutes later like nothing happened? So to me, that was the only part of the match I didn't really like. Because
I agree.
So,
that's Forbidden Door rules, guys. It works at Forbidden Door.
Brett, I am right there with you, man. There is nothing I hate more than it's like I get it. Okay, just because the referee barred you from ringside doesn't mean you can't come back. But if we go back to WrestleMania, for example, Solo got kicked out of ringside. So then Solo comes back and cost Cody the match, and it's what was the point?
But he did have a hoodie on when he did it.
Yeah, but it's either way.
Yeah.
But to Brett's point, I mean, that's even different because Solo came back when the ref was knocked out. To Brett's point, the ref saw Don Callis and was like, "Wait, I thought I kicked you out. Oh well, let's just keep going." So I definitely feel you on that one, Brett. The next match, which another fun one in my mind. Sting, Darby Allin, Naito, Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Suzuki in that 6-man trios match. I thought it was a lot of fun, man, and dug it. Sting and Darby and Naito came away with the win, and I thought it was a good showing. There was a lot of age in that match, man, but you couldn't tell. So,
yeah, I don't know. Is it just me or does the Darby Allin suicide dives scare anybody else? Because man, I always think he's gonna hurt himself the way he just throws himself out there with reckless abandon. But no, I thought it was a fun match too. The one part at the end, I like the whole teasing the breakup between Jericho and Guevara, having him do the 630 through the table onto Sting, which credit to Sting, he's 65, 66, however old he is.
Yeah, he's about the same age as the Undertaker.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be doing those anymore, but he still goes out and does stunts like that anyway. So I give him all the credit in the world for that. The only part that threw me off at the end was the fact that Sting was the one that took the move through the table, and yet he beat Sammy Guevara to his feet, and we never saw Sammy after that again. But overall, besides that one slight issue that I had with it, that part, I thought it was a great match. It was really fun to watch.
So this is where you have to do your fast X and suspend reality, right? Because remember, Sting had on the Joker fake paint.
Yeah.
So with the Joker face paint, he can take more punishment. I don't know why. I'm just saying, it's just one of those things. I thought there was a lot of good spots in the match. Spots are what kind of make or break these type of matches, right? Because we know one team's going to win, we know one team's going to lose. This is to let the good guys win, let them walk away, let people feel good about that after what just happened with Kenny Omega, because everybody loves Kenny Omega, right? So I thought it was a great placement of this match. Of course, the right team won. As I said before, a lot of great spots, which is what people like to see in these type of matches, and it was fun. And coffin drops always.
Yes, agreed. I thought the crowd starting a murder grandpa chant for Suzuki was awesome. The following match after, of course, is the main event. We kind of touched on it a little bit. Okada versus Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson came out to the final countdown. Both men tore it up, moved together well in the ring. I didn't think that there was going to be a point in Bryan's career right now where Bryan was going to be able to hang in the ring with a guy like Okada or anybody from New Japan for that matter, because of his age and the fact that he has a surgically repaired neck. So, but man, he hung in there, and it was a great match. So.
Yeah, anytime you hang with the Rainmaker, man, you've done something in this business. And another match that should have really gotten more time to be hyped, and had it gotten it, I think a lot of people would have been more invested that may have been not as aware of even who Okada was, just because, again, I mean, I watch New Japan. So this is the type of things where the video package is. They did do a little bit of talking about this, but it kind of just came out of nowhere. So it still wasn't really a logical build, even when you suspend reality, as you have to do to kind of watch wrestling these days.
I'll say I hope we get to see a rematch of this one, because I thought it was a great match, but I think Bryan, breaking his forearm like 10 minutes into it, I think it prevented it from being the all-timer it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that eventually we get a rematch, because as great as I thought that match was, I think the injury just prevented it from being all-time great, which I think those two are absolutely capable of doing. So I definitely wasn't disappointed. I'm just hoping we get to see round 2 eventually between these guys.
And credit Bryan Danielson, excuse me. It takes a strong, just internal fortitude to go out and finish a match with a broken forearm, with the kind of moves that he does and the kind of things that Bryan does. So I did it again, didn't I? I did. Bryan Danielson does. And I appreciate what he does, because he's a guy that he gives it all. He just goes out in the ring and he performs to the best of his ability every time he's out there. He doesn't care if there's an injury. He's going to finish the match. When he had to sit out because of concussions years ago, he had a concussion early in the match and still finished the match. This is a guy that's like, I don't care. He's old school in that aspect. And a lot of guys don't do that anymore. You see an X go up and the match is over. So I appreciate the fact that with the broken freaking forearm, he still finished the match. So now he needs to come out like Kurt Angle and talk about how he finished matches with a broken freaking forearm.
Definitely. So yeah, that was our break, or kind of just breaking down of Forbidden Door. I think that we all kind of, chimed in on it. I thought it was a great show. I can't wait for next year's Forbidden Door. Yeah. We'll kind of move on. We have a 1-2 punch here, man. We just got done with Forbidden Door this weekend. Now this upcoming weekend, we're going to see Money in the Bank, and it's going to be in England. So the card is all but set. There may be another match or two that's going to get announced. But what I figured we could do, guys, is we can kind of run down the card and give our predictions.
All for it, man. All for it.
Let's do it.
Let's go. So the first match, let's jump right in. The Money in the Bank ladder match for the men's contract. It has been set for 7 individuals: Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, LA Knight, Santos Escobar, Butch, Damian Priest, and Logan Paul.
Oh man, just think Ricochet could be a one-time Money in the Bank winner if he would have just pulled the contract down while Brock Lesnar was entering last year or 2 years ago. No, I think with this match, there's only two ways you can go with it. I think the first way you can look at it is I think the winner will end up being Logan Paul just because of the social media kind of outpour and everything that would kind of follow with that. All the interviews he could do with the Money in the Bank contract. I think that gets the most media and publicity. So I could very well seeing them do that. Otherwise, if they're not going to do that, then I think your only other winner is definitely LA Knight. There's nobody that's hotter right now than him in that match. Nobody's even close to him. So I'm going to predict Logan Paul, but if it's not him, it has to be LA Knight.
So I can see actually multiple winners, right? I could definitely see Logan Paul winning. Definitely LA Knight, yeah. But also think about Damian Priest. Damian Priest has been hot. He's been on a steady rise up the card. Had the big match with Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico. He's been dominant. Obviously lost to Cody on Monday, but there's no shame in losing to the Golden Boy right now. So I think that Priest winning could be very interesting because it could create some tension within the Judgment Day, whether Finn Balor wins or not, but especially if he does win. I also think that Santos Escobar, right? Legado del Fantasma's been around now, that the LWO, but it doesn't feel like they're doing anything, right? It doesn't feel like there's really making an impact. Zelina Vega's had some shots. She's in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. But outside of her, you haven't really got any traction except for Rey Mysterio in his match against Dominic at WrestleMania. You haven't seen a lot from the LWO. So this could be a way to kind of turn it around with him finding a way to win on the Money in the Bank. And the other guy I think that has a chance is Butch. Because if we want to break him away and turn him back into the bruiserweight, this is a great way to do it, winning the Money in the Bank contract. So I think I could see really everybody but Shinsuke and Ricochet finding a way to actually win the match. Now, if I was picking a favorite, I would definitely say LA Knight, just because you have to listen to the fans at some point, and LA Knight's been around for a while. So if you're going to try to give him a push and push him into the stratosphere, I think this feels like a good time to do it, and he can still be the guy that he is, the loudmouth jerk. But at the same time, having that contract, he doesn't have to worry about going through the regular means to get that title shot.
Yeah, I kind of just piggybacking off of what Brett said. My two picks are LA Knight and Logan Paul. But kind of to piggyback off of what you said, Cool. I could see other guys winning this match, but the two guys to stand out, it would be highway robbery if it's anybody else but LA Knight right now. He's got to win it. So the second match. Give me 1 second here. Is the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So we've got Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bayley, Io Sky, and Trish Stratus.
This one I'm gonna pick Io Sky. I think the briefcase would be a great way to officially kind of split up Damage Control officially, or Hare and Bailey, have them feud over the briefcase. And I think that could be a fun little feud. And then obviously have Io Sky, keep the briefcase, and then you could eventually make her into another star, cashing it eventually. So I think the winner of this one's going to be Io Sky. I think that's the right choice.
Cool, you good to go?
Io Sky or Becky Lynch? Because look at the confrontation from last night between Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. I don't see Zelina winning, but it would be awesome if Zelina and her male counterpart both got wins, her and Santos Escobar. Don't see it happening, but just saying for a argument, a different option that they could go. But I think Io Sky is clearly the top option if you were not going to do her. Someone like Becky Lynch to get her back in the title picture and away from this Trish Stratus and Joey Stark trash would be a good way to go to.
Agreed. Stephen Chambers says, "What's up, Chase? What's up, Bretta? Appreciate you joining in, watching." So, who I want to win would be Zelina. I want Zelina to win really, really bad. My prediction: Trish Stratus. I think Zoe. I think Zoe helps. I think Zoe helps Trish up the ladder. And I think that I think Becky, when Becky challenges for the title, I think that's when Trish will cash in, or we could see Trish cash in later that night, and then we get Trish versus Becky at SummerSlam for the title. So
I can dig
it has been a tradition that one of the Money in the Bank winners cashes in that night every year.
So, side question for you guys: when are we going to have a women's Money in the Bank winner lose their cash in?
I don't think so. I'm glad you asked that because while we're on that subject, I don't think a cash in or a Money in the Bank winner should ever lose their cash in. I think
I
that's
agree.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
agree.
think it should happen, but if it was gonna happen, I could very well seeing it be this year with how dominant of champions Rhea Ripley and Oscar. Like, I could very well see them getting cashed in on and then proceeding to, beat the person cashing in on them. So I think if it's gonna happen, I think it's gonna happen this year, but I really hope it doesn't.
agreed.
Steven has some good points over in the comments too.
If Damian wins Money in the Bank, Finn could be winning the title. That is a possibility. I had somebody present the idea to me. They said the argument they had for Finn winning against Seth on Saturday is that Seth has been going nonstop since he won the title. He has literally been a workhorse champion. So if you had him drop it to Finn on Saturday, there is a good reason why that could possibly happen. So,
I do think that I was thinking about this, and I do think that Seth has done what he set out to do with the championship. So I wouldn't be upset if he were to lose. It would make sense story wise. You got the Judgment Day, so you can have interference help him win. But yeah, him actually dropping the belt, it wouldn't be too unheard of or too ridiculous. Like you said, he's been defending it left and right.
if you were gonna have somebody lose their cash in, I could see it being Damian Priest. If Damian Priest wins the men's Money in the Bank, then he goes to cash in during the match between Seth and Finn, and Seth walks out champion still, and then that causes Finn to officially excommunicate Damian from the match.
But see, I would think if Damian Priest wins, he helps Finn win. He has a full year. So he waits and bides his time, walking around with a briefcase, Mr. Money in the Bank, until Finn loses, and then he cashes in. Right? So I think you have him have the long hold. I think if you're going to have somebody lose, it has to be a woman because there has not been a female that hasn't cashed in. So if we're going to have a loser, I think it's got to be, unfortunately, whoever wins the women's Money in the Bank. I don't think that's going to happen either. But it would be nice for them to wait and not cash it in that night as well. I'd love to see them actually hold it for a little bit and walk around as Miss Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I saw an interesting stat. It was like for the last 5 years, the women's Money in the Bank has either been cashed in the night of or the night after the pay per view. So
Yep.
I
Since
am also
Carmelo.
hoping I'm hoping that this is the year that we actually get like a lengthy Money in the Bank like run before it actually gets cashed in.
Yeah, tease it, play around, use it to play mind games. You don't have some fun with it for once.
So the next match, Cody versus Dom. And I wanted to highlight this. I don't know if Gene is still in the chat or not, but Gene said Cody versus Dom is a dumb match that doesn't do much for either guy. And then he mentioned he's a super casual and he's not familiar with AEW. I'm going to respectfully disagree with Gene on that. I don't think that this match is dumb and it doesn't do for either guy. Number one, because Cody's one of the hottest stars in WWE right now. So you put Dom against him and that helps Dom out. Second, my prediction, it's really going to help Dom out when Brock Lesnar comes and beats up Cody and Dom wins. Like Steven just said, Dominic wins by count out, Brock going to F5 Cody. I don't know if he'll win by count out. I think they'll embarrass Cody, and I think they'll have him get a pinfall loss to Dom. And this will set up another match between Cody and Brock at SummerSlam. So that's my prediction. Dom wins. So
I mean, Cody did challenge Brock anytime, anywhere. So that's probably wasn't a wise thing to say. And I figured that something like this or something similar was going to happen when he did that. This definitely could set up the match with Brock. I'll be honest with you. I'm not excited to see Cody versus Brock 3. I know it's inevitable. There's nothing we can do to change it, but I'm not really excited to see it. I would like to see Dom pick up the win because Dom is like the MJF of WWE right now. Like, you hate Dom. Like, everything about Dom just makes you want to punch him in the face if you saw him in the street. So he's playing the character amazingly. So the character needs a big win. Beating Cody Rhodes, it doesn't get much bigger than that.
I think my only issue with Brock versus Cody is have they ever explained why Brock even attacked Cody yet in the first place?
They haven't, but I think they would. And the reason why they haven't, Britt, is because you can't expect Brock to explain himself. Like, Brock's a loose cannon. That's what Brock had Heyman for. But I agree with you. I would love for them to at least kind of close that gap and explain why Brock did it. And I think the most obvious, easy answer would be that Brock wants the title, and Cody thought that he was going to glide his way through WWE and go get the championship, and that's just not going to happen. That you got to go through the beast incarnate. But getting Brock to explain that, I think, is the issue. That's why I think they haven't done that yet. I'm hoping that they will with this final feud. Like, hey, this is why I don't like you. I don't like you because you're blonde, you got blue eyes, you got the pretty boy smile, and I want to, and you think that you're just going to walk in here and enter number 30 in the Royal Rumble, win, get a match at WrestleMania, and get a rematch. That's not going to happen on my watch, kid. So, you want another shot at the title, you got to go through me.
Oh, fair enough.
The next match, the championship match that we were talking about, Seth freaking Rollins against Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. Who you guys got?
I got Seth Rollins, and I think it's because Damian Priest comes out to try to help Finn, but accidentally ends up costing him the match to continue that feud and breakup. I think that's where this is headed anyway, an eventual showdown between the two, and I think we're looking at a really good situation where you can this could be the catalyst for a breakup. Even if he doesn't win, even if Damian doesn't win Money in the Bank, I still think this is a situation where he gets himself involved in the match and accidentally costs Finn, and we put that rivalry in motion.
I think we're going to get Seth too. I wouldn't be upset with him losing the belt already, but I think they want to put it on him and let him ride with it for a couple more months. I mean, you're going up against a guy that's been champ for a million years, so you got to hold a championship for a little bit of time. So I think for me, honestly, it's just a matter of simply, I don't think they're going to take the belt off Seth at this point. It doesn't matter who it is. You would have to come along SummerSlam or beyond to have an opportunity to beat Seth for this championship. And Finn's just there at the wrong time.
I got Rollins getting the W2. I can agree with the idea of why Rollins could lose, but I just don't think it. I don't think it's time yet. I think he'll keep it unless we get a crazy cash in, which could happen. It could happen. The next match. And this is what's funny about it. This match could involve a crazy cash in. The Bloodline, Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, take on the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, in the Bloodline Civil War tag team match. Who y'all got?
I'm gonna go with the ones.
I was gonna say with I almost feel like there's a good argument to be made to have the Usos win this one, but I think they'll stick to what they normally do. Roman wins. As much as I think that the Usos should probably win this one, I think at the end Roman's going to pick up the W. I think it's going to be a phenomenal match, and I think the storytelling one is going to be immaculate. So I'm really looking forward to watching this one. But I'm going to go with Roman and Solo.
So I'm taking the Usos, in case anybody was confused. I think the Usos win this match. They come out on SmackDown. They're bragging. Roman comes down with Solo. And new members come to the Bloodline. At least one new member to even the odds or give them the advantage. So that's what I think is going to happen with this. But I've been counting new members for months, so we'll see if it's just in my mind or if someone's listening.
So my gut is to go with the obvious choice, and that's Roman and Solo, so they can continue carrying this on. But what if Logan Paul wins Money in the Bank, and then the Usos lay out Roman, and Logan Paul's music hits, and Logan Paul comes in to cash in Money in the Bank on Roman right then and there?
Oh, that would be insane.
I think you're more creative than the WWE creative team, sir.
Someone get the creative team this man's number.
Heard that. Yeah, no, I don't. I think this will be a good match, and I think it will continue planting seeds. But I don't think that there's any. I don't think it closes up any holes. All I think it does is create a bigger one. I think that WWE has realized how to work the crowd or how to work us with this Bloodline storyline, and I think they're going to continue doing it. I could see this thing going on for a while. So the next match for the women's tag team championships, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler against a returning Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez.
So for me, I don't know because I'm going to be refilling my drink, throwing away my trash, maybe taking a quick tinkle during this match.
Yeah. This match doesn't really move me. Like I really enjoy seeing Liv and Raquel. I'm not so excited to see Ronda and Shayna. They don't really move the needle for me in terms of excitement. I
Watching
do.
Ronda wrestle or talk is like watching dirty paint dry.
No, I do think Ronda and Shayna end up retaining, and I think this will end up being the worst match of the night, or at least the most boring.
Bathroom break, drink break, refill your snacks. This is your key. This is your window.
I'll tell you what, I was very excited to see Liv come back on SmackDown. I thought that was really cool because I feel like I read that she was going to be out for like 9 months, right?
That was the initial what they were saying. Yeah,
Yeah, and then like now, so they're saying that, uh, I mean, now she's back, so it was cool. But I do agree. I don't think that this match is the reason why I'm not excited for this match is because I think it's going to be obviously Shayna and Ronda. So, Ronda versus Shayna going to happen eventually. I think it should happen.
and when that match happens, wherever that happens, I don't care if it's a live show. I don't care if it's Raw. I don't care if it's SmackDown. I don't care if it's NXT. I don't care if I just went to the bathroom. I am taking a bathroom break for that match because I do not care one bit who wins. Can they destroy each other and send each other out of the WWE? Please.
Honestly, I think maybe the worst part about a Ronda versus Shayna like match would probably be the build, and if they try to give them live microphones, like I think that would be some of the worst mic battles we have ever seen. So, like the match will be physical. It might be fine, but I think the build up would just be flat out terrible.
The final match, Gunther versus Matt Riddle for the Intercontinental Championship.
It's one of two things are going to happen. Either Randy Orton is going to come back and help Riddle win his title, or Gunther continues his reign. Period.
I'm thinking Gunther continues his reign, and I was thinking that I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking Randy Orton comes back and lays out Matt Riddle to build up a feud between the two for SummerSlam. I think when you bring back Randy Orton, I think the crowd will want to cheer him, but we all know that Randy Orton is just so much better as a heel. And I think you just bring him back as a heel or at best a tweener, but I think that Randy Orton does return, and when he does return, he's going to shock everybody. He's going to lay out Matt Riddle with an RKO. And I think a perfect spot in order to do that would be right here at Money in the Bank in front of a wild UK crowd.
My thought was help him win tonight, turn on him on Monday night the following week for the championship. Make it make sense.
I'm going with Gunther. I don't see any reason for them to do a title swap here. I just don't think it's in the cards for old Riddle right now. I do agree. I do think that Gunther will have a huge pop, as Steven Chambers said. But that kind of wraps up our Money in the Bank predictions. Obviously, check it out Saturday. It'll be during the middle of the day, I think.
Yes, like 3 p.m.
Yeah. Since it's gonna be in London, England, I'm pretty sure it's it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So
yep.
I will either be driving back from St. Louis, Missouri, or I will be home. So we'll see. We'll see. Some other wrestling news to kind of go over real quick, guys, before we get out of here. There was some reports that came out that Vince McMahon was changing show stuff at the last minute. I haven't really paid too much attention to it, just because it's weird to me. Like, I can't really tell the difference between what a crappy show Vince books anymore and what what a show Vince didn't book is. So I figured I'd let you guys kind of chime in on that.
Go ahead, Brett.
I'd say I completely could get the frustration. I'd be frustrated too if I showed up and I had all these plans for the show and all of a sudden, like 10 minutes before it gets cut or slightly reduced in time. So I get the frustration, absolutely. And it's definitely just not fair to the wrestlers in general. Like, I just think that, if that is happening, him and Triple H, I heard they're going to have a meeting at some point. I just think they need to sit down and figure out who's in charge, or maybe think of a time frame, like agree on a time limit, like, okay, you can only make adjustments at this point. After that, the show's finalized, it's done. But yeah, I get where the frustration would be, and I hope Triple H, and if Vince is doing that, then him and Triple H can come to an agreement and decision, so we can get more.
Didn't Endeavor solidify Hunter as head of creative?
Yeah, so that's what I heard, which is
But Vince is his boss, though.
Yeah, so I guess Vince could still just hop in and do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So for me, this is when I think Vince has gotten involved. We see a lot of times where things don't flow, where they're just disjointed in the whole overall story. You'll see somebody get a big push, like the start of a push 1 week, and then we don't see them for 2 weeks. And then there's reports that they had segments that were cut and things like that. Last minute changes are very frustrating for wrestlers. They'd be frustrating for me if I went to work and my job was like, oh yeah, by the way, I know we told you that you're going to do this, but you're actually just going to do this, right? That's frustrating when you've been preparing for something different. So I think when it's disjointed, when it doesn't make a lot of sense in the overall story, and when there's like rushed finishes or like some of these false finishes that don't make sense. I think some of those things are Vince. I see Triple H as more the guy that's like, we have a story we want to tell over X amount of time. So what is this specific moment? How does that affect the overall story? Like, for instance, I don't think Vince is touching the bloodline story. I think he's not allowed to have any input into that, right? Because it makes sense every week. There isn't a time where it's disjointed, where guys are just not showing up except for Ramon, who shows up when he wants to, but everybody else is included on a regular basis. So I think when you look at the ones that just make you say, why would you do that? What sense does it make for him to do that, person A to do this? I'm not going to name any specific people here, but I think that's where you see the Vince influence. And I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I think it can be very, I mean, obviously I think it's very frustrating, but like my overall thought of it is unless we're told that like he's straight up fired or he's dead, I think wrestling fans have to get used to the fact that no matter what, Vince McMahon is going to have his hands in the operation. Yep. No matter if it's day to day or if it's maybe every other week, no matter what it is, Vince McMahon will have his hands in that operation, whether we like it or not. So that's why I kind of get confused when people are like, I feel like that's just kind of like the common excuse. Like we can't admit if Triple H does something bad. Like ever since Triple H took over, everybody's been like I'll give you a prime example. There's some wrestling publications who will put out yearly awards. I don't really care because they don't mean shit to me. It's all mumbo jumbo, whatever. Wrestling's opinionated. I don't care who you are. Right. So when somebody says, oh, Tony Khan won Booker of the Year last year, and then somebody goes, no, Triple H did. Well, no, because Triple H took over in August or July. That's over half the year in. Don't tell me that Triple H won Booker of the Year just because Triple H came into WWE and wanted to do or did stuff that you agree with now. And now that there's stuff being done in WWE that you don't agree with, I feel like the excuse is that people can latch onto is go, oh, Vince must have booked that show, or oh, that must be a Vince decision. Like, no, it's like let's not forget Triple H thought Henry Godwin was a good wrestler and wanted WWE to give him a really good push.
Hog.
Like, yeah, like come on, I get it. Like Hunter does a really great job and he's very in tune. I was a big, huge NXT Black and Gold fan. It was my favorite time in the past 15 years as a wrestling fan. But I can admit that Paul Levesque is human. And let's not forget where Paul Levesque learned how to book wrestling from. That was from his daddy-in-law. So just because that's why I just don't like touching those subjects, because I just feel like wrestling fans, it's low-hanging fruit for wrestling fans to go, oh, that segment on the show sucked. That must have been a Vince decision. Like, no,
that's
probably a Triple H one.
And that's why I say for me, it's the ones that are disjointed that don't look like they belong, not the ones that just suck, because Triple H puts out some sucky stuff too. But when you look at it, it just doesn't make sense overall. Like somebody said, hey, let's just change this and do this. That's when I feel like that's where Vince is interjecting. I don't feel like he has as much of an overall control as a lot of people do think. But I do think that there are certain things that he's like, look, I want this changed and we're changing this. And that disjoints the overall product. Because the thing is, if you rewrite the whole entire show focused around what you want to do, then whether we like it or not, it's going to make sense. It's going to flow. But you can tell there's parts where it's like, that's disjointed. More than likely, that's a part that got rewritten. And when we start talking about rewrites and last minute changes, we start talking about Vince. Because Triple H hasn't been reported or shown that he's a guy that would do that. So that's where I say, like, this is probably where Vince is interjecting himself into it, more so than just if it's bad, because Triple H is going to put out bad stuff too. He brought back, because he's the one that brought back Killer Cross, and then what's he doing now?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I do think that's just a bad excuse, blaming every bad segment on Vince. Like, I think Triple H has done a phenomenal job as a booker for the most part, but obviously no booker is going to be perfect and going to hit every single one of their segments. So kind of like how I've enjoyed how AEW does their stuff, but obviously Tony Khan's also not perfect. So I think wrestling fans just got to accept that every booker's going to have their flaws. They're going to have their misses. So yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree with you guys on that, though.
Kind of getting towards the end here. Want to close this out, but before we go, want to talk about another wrestling pay-per-view, and this one's going to be on July 15th. So I mean, we're 2 weeks away. Yeah, about a little over 2 weeks away. And that's Impact Wrestling Slammiversary. It's Impact Wrestling's big show of the year. Quite arguably their biggest. I will be the first one to say before starting off that if you had asked me 2 months ago, I'd have told you that Impact was very, very strong, that it was a lot stronger than what people gave it credit for, and that if people gave it a chance, they would really like it. Enjoyed their women's division more than the other two companies. Thought they were doing a really good job of utilizing their young talent. Not so much. Don't get me wrong. I was a huge Motor City Machine Guns fan growing up. But that was 10 years ago. Alex Shelley winning the Impact Heavyweight Championship does nothing for Impact right now. Nothing. It's just another, hey, look, we have this old TNA guy. Let's make him the Impact champion. So Slammiversary's headliner is going to be Nick Aldis and Alex Shelley for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. I don't think that match does anything for Impact at all. They have the women's championship, which their knockouts championship, which I'm very excited about. Trinity and Deonna Purrazzo. I think that match is going to be good. But the so their shift, I still think they have a very strong women's division. that I think could compete with WWE's or AEW's by a long shot. Like I said, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have told them that I'd have told you that the women's division in Impact was better than the other two companies. But then they do stuff like PCO and Scott D'Amore versus Bully Ray and Steve Macklin. Hey, let me tell you something. I am over the moon excited for a guy like Steve Macklin. Steve Macklin was in a horrible position in NXT. He got stuck with Wesley Blake. That's not a knock, but him and Wesley Blake got stuck with Jackson Riker. And if you guys remember, Jackson Riker went on social media and did all that right-wing stuff, political stuff, etc. And the Forgotten Sons, which was a stupid gimmick to begin with, got scrapped. So Steve Macklin gets released from WWE, goes to Impact, and is making the best out of what he can in Impact. And he's done a phenomenal job at it. But he gets to tag team with Bully Ray to face Scott D'Amore and PCO. I don't get it. But that's your Slammiversary card so far. You guys have any thoughts on that? Or
no, I agree with that. Like, they're just relying on too many of just like the older faces. Like you said, I was a big Motor City Machine Guns guy 10 years ago. I remember getting hyped for a Bully Ray heel turn back at Lockdown when he hit Jeff Hardy, I think it was, with the hammer to align with the Aces and Eights. But that's what, 2011, 2012, 2013. Like, let's start pushing some fresh faces in there. You can still use guys like Bully Ray as like a special attraction, and like Alex Shelley can still maybe participate in title matches, but I don't really think they need to be prominently featured in this huge special role. And I think it's just time for them to start pushing younger, more exciting talent at this point.
Yeah, they have a roster of full of good younger guys. I'd prefer to see Nick Aldis and Steve Macklin for the Impact title. I just feel like they were making a very bold statement last year of saying, we don't have to rely on people coming back to do this. We don't have to relive glory days for us to put on great shows, great matches. And now this year they're like, maybe we do. So I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea.
So I have quite a few problems with Impact. The first is you brought in Trinity. She has the same gimmick. I hate that gimmick. Why would you bring that gimmick there? Glow sticks and dancing. Let's just stop it. A rear view, a butt to the face is a finishing move or a setup for a finisher. No. This was a chance for Trinity to go in there and reinvent herself, and she failed miserably with that opportunity. I think I personally have a problem with Alex Shelley being the champ if it's not the long-term goal. If it's we're going to let him be champ for a month or two, and then we're going to get the belt off him and get it to somebody. I don't have a problem with that. Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, I really hope she beats Trinity until they do something to help her change that gimmick. We don't need to glow happiness again. Like, we've already seen that. I think where Impact is doing better is the tag team divisions, men's and women's. You got the Coven as the female tag team champions, and then you got Bullet Club, ABC, or whatever else you want to call them, Chris Bay and Ace Austin as the tag team champions. So those are guys that could be future stars, for the company if they elect to stay there. Joe Hendry is the the digital championship, is it still called? Or whatever they're calling it these days.
The digital media championship.
Yeah, digital media championship. Thank you, sir. They have talent, right?
Yeah,
They
they have a
have some
lot.
young guys. They have guys that are not being used properly, right? Decay. Come on. Decay. You got the Deaf Dolls. You got a Diener, right? You've got Crazy Eddie Edwards and his wife are both there. Then you think about some names that you might know, like Heath, Dirty Dango, who was Fandango, in case you weren't clear, Brian Myers, and others that are names that you've known, but they never really got over where they were at. So this is a chance to kind of have them get over if you use them correctly. Jonathan Gresham is there. And for those of you who don't know Jonathan Gresham, look him up.
Yeah.
Jonathan Gresham is a great wrestler who should be a face of this company. And maybe they're going a long route to get to that point, but you need to get to that point.
Yeah. Moose and Nick Aldis should be headlining Slammiversary.
Moose should be headlining every show.
Yeah, Jonathan Gresham versus Nick Aldis should be headlining Slammiversary. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we have a slew of different things we could do, and then we settled on Alex Shelley and like and I'm not knocking Alex Shelley. Like I'm not like somebody's gonna hear that and go, oh, he doesn't like Alex. Like you don't like Alex Shelley? No, I love Alex Shelley. But like I mentioned, Alex Shelley's time was 10 years ago. Like it's you know, if you're wanting to make an impact, no pun intended. Putting Alex Shelley versus Nick Aldis on your biggest pay-per-view of the year is not going to do it. I'm not going to rush and go buy that pay-per-view. It's just not going to happen. So, but we'll see.
And Trey Miguel, push. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Impact. Let me help you. Trey Miguel, push. Nick Aldis should beat Alex Shelley. Yep. Period. You want to keep the X Division Championship of Chris Sabin? Whatever.
A bunch of people already said like the only reason that that Alex Shelley won was so Nick Aldis could beat him for the title, and I'm like, then why couldn't it have been somebody else? So
if that's where they go, I'm okay with that. Just so Alex Shelley can have that one moment where he was a champion. But any more than that, now we have a problem because now you're really holding a lot of guys back. Who's if he's going to get a championship run, then we should just be putting all the names in the hat and just pulling out. You got Sammy Callahan over there with a new OVO. I mean, Sammy Callahan is a just ridiculous person. I would assume he is in real life, just the character he played. But you have so many options, man. You have options. Use what you have. Don't be those guys that just does like the last days of WCW. Don't turn into that. Impact. You've lasted a long time, mainly as the number 2 promotion. Don't lose it now because you want to make a bunch of old fogies your focal point and you've got better talent.
Agreed. Brett, you got anything to add to that, sir?
Nope. No, I think you guys nailed it.
Gentlemen, do we have anything else we want to any topics we want to push real quick before we say goodnight?
I do have one thing I would like to say, sir. If you're broke, catch a vibe. I don't swerve when I drive.
No,
my man. My man.
No, I'll say all I want to say is for a show in a couple weeks. It's great to be back on. It was a great show, guys. I definitely enjoyed being on with you guys and can't wait to do it again next week.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you back, Brett.
Absolutely.
Other than that, if you are watching with us still, make sure that you follow Sports Empire Network for all of your sports needs. There's everything from football, basketball, WNBA, hockey, baseball, everything you can think of. Sports Empire Network is growing like crazy. And again, as a way to say thank you, we want to tell you to go to SeatGeek.com, use promo code SEN for Sports Empire Network to get your first $20 off of your purchase. And make sure you follow all these gentlemen here. Brett, Cool, myself, and as always, good fight and good night.